In this video, I'm going to teach you about audio reverb zones. Now these are really easy to set up, very easy to work with, but to really drive the point home of how they work, I am going to create a very basic scene that you're welcome to follow along with. It'll take just a couple of minutes, and if you don't want to go through all the rigmarole, then by all means just scrub forward a little bit on your video. But I'm going to start off by creating a sphere. So under the hierarchy view, I'll go under Create, click on Sphere, and I want this to be pretty close to where my audio source is. So somewhere right about here will do just fine. It doesn't have to be placed with any level of precision. I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to rename this in the inspector. I will call it inner radius. I'm going to take its sphere collider and delete it. Now, I need to set its size, and to do that, we're going to scale it up. Let's say 15 by 15 by 15, which gives it a radius of about 7.5 units. Well, a radius of exactly 7.5 units. Now, let's duplicate this sphere, and we're going to rename the duplicate to outer radius, and I'll scale this up to, let's say 40 by 40 by 40, which gives it a radius of 20. Now, we can't see through these. We can walk through them, but it'd be nice if we could see through them too. Now, I already have a folder in my project called Materials. If you don't, you can create one just by going to Create and choosing Folder, but since I already have one, I'll utilize what I have here. So we'll select Materials, and I'm going to go into Create and make a brand new material. And let's call this, let's click on it, rename it. This will be Inner Radius Matte, like so. I'm going to go under its shader, and we're going to set this to Transparent Diffuse, which is just a type of shader that we can apply some transparency to. So if I take the main color and click on it, I can pull back on its alpha, and I can make it kind of transparent. So I'm going to pull this down to somewhere around 55, 60, somewhere in that range. And I'm going to give this a bluish cast. Then I can apply this to my inner radius. Now to do this, I need to zoom in a little bit. Actually, I'll tell you what, I've changed my mind. I'm going to make the inner radius red. Don't ask me why, I just feel better doing that. Now with that done, I can just take the inner radius, drag it right on top of this sphere, and now you can see that we can see through that sphere. Now once we get inside of it, it's going to disappear. That's just how it goes, and I'm not going to worry about that aspect of it. I just want to be able to see that effect, at least from the outside. Now let's do the same thing for the outer sphere as well. I'll select the inner radius material and hit Control D, and we'll rename this to Outer Radius Matte. Delete out the extra number on the end, and then I'll simply change the color, this time to actually have that bluish cast I was talking about. And that'll work. And now we'll just drag and drop this on top of our outer sphere. So now I have two spheres, one inside the other. The outer one has a radius of, it should be 20, because we have a scale of 40. It's going to be half of the scale. And then the inner one is 7.5. Now with that done, let's add in our audio reverb zone. So I'm going to add this to the inner radius just because that'll keep it nicely oriented and aligned perfectly. What we could do alternatively, and if you just want to keep your hierarchy view clean, I guess I might as well do it this way. Let's hit Control-Shift-N and make a brand new game object, and I'll just call this Reverb Zone. And then if you really wanted to be hardcore about it, you could just have a section called, or I'm sorry, a brand new game object called Visualizer. Let's take Visualizer and we'll parent it to Reverb Zone. We'll expand that. We're going to take inner radius and outer radius and parent those to the Visualizer. So we have a Reverb Zone within which we have a Visualizer that has an inner radius and an outer radius. The cool thing about working this way is that once we're done with the Visualizer, if we still wanted to keep the Reverb Zone, we could just delete this out and the Reverb Zone would be maintained. So I'll select the Reverb Zone game object and go under Component, down to Audio, and finally we get to add one on. Ta-da! So there's our reverb zone. Now this is a really simple component. There's really not much to it. However, it does look like my my spheres are not perfectly aligned with it, so let's make sure that that gets done. Let's grab the inner radius, and we'll make sure that its positions are all set to 0. And the outer radius, make sure its positions are also set to 0. That'll keep everything nicely lined up. Take the visualizer, and it's already set to 0, so now everybody should be nicely lined up with each other. Now, the properties for a reverb zone are as follows. We have a min distance, a max distance, a reverb preset, which there's a lot of these, by the way, and all these are simulations of reverb based on the following settings. So, how does reverb sound in a hallway? You can click on hallway. How does it sound in a stone corridor, for instance? And these are just things you can dig through. Now, you can choose any one of these you like and then use them as just a place to start. So if you want to start with a cave because you want a lot of echo, you can just start there. And then if you like, you can switch over to user and then start playing with the sliders to get exactly how, the type of reverb you need. I am not going to be going over all of these different sliders, though. There are many, and 9 times out of 10, I think you'll find that you can find an appropriate level of reverb right here on the many, many presets. Now, min distance and max distance allow us to control at what level the reverb is going to start to fall off and then completely disappear. So what we're going to do is line this up with our visualizers. We're going to take the min distance and set it to 7.5, and you'll see that that hugs nicely to our little red sphere. And we'll take our max distance and we'll set this to 20, and that lines up with our blue sphere. So now if we hit play and we listen to our beep, we're not hearing anything, and if you take a look at my inspector, you'll see why, and you're welcome to chuckle and have some fun with that, because my reverb preset was off, which is fantastic. So let's go ahead and set this to something really obvious like cave, and we're getting some nice reverb. Now I'm going to run away from this real quick, and you'll notice the reverb will eventually go away, and now it's completely gone. Now, take a look at our spheres as we move closer. So there's our big blue sphere. As soon as I enter it, we're getting a little bit of reverb, which is increasing as I approach the red sphere. If I get really close, you can start to hear it again. So it's a nice blend. And then once I get inside the red sphere, we're at full reverb. And now it's completely gone again. And that's really all there is to it. You're just going to set up a distance, or a pair of distances, one within which we have full reverb, and then within the outer distance we're going to fall off until there's no reverb left whatsoever. It's a really nice way to control the type of reverb effects that you get based on a given area. So if you have your player go into a cave or go into some place where you should be hearing some echo, then you can just apply the echo just like that. But that is going to wrap things up for this video. Thank you very much for watching.